Hey guys, it's Jim from Find Your Marathon. Don't forget, if you like the channel, please subscribe. And if you don't remember who I am, well, I'm a former, I guess for lack of a better term, fat guy, 350 pounds, now certified personal trainer based in New Orleans, ultramarathon runner, and I lost 180 pounds with diet and exercise. So the channel every week is going to give you weight loss tips, things that you need to do, situations that you might run into, things like that. They're going to help you save time in your weight loss and in your fitness journey. So here's what we're talking about today. Your first workout, right? And look, anytime you make a decision for fitness, right? And anytime you've kind of finally gotten to that place where, okay, you know what? I'm ready to walk into a gym. I'm at home. I'm going to pop in a DVD. Whatever has kind of brought you to that place where you're really thinking about, okay, I want this. I want a better life, right? And the how we get there and how we get to that first workout is a whole other video, a whole other thing. But the actual first workout, and I will tell you, bar none, the hardest thing to do if you're overweight, obese, clinically morbidly obese, the hardest thing to do is to get through that workout in a way that you actually feel at the end like you want to do another workout. Now, I know that seems like a really small goal. Like, you probably want to get in there, and I'm going to tell you, and I think guys, like, we're the worst about this. And look, I'm 40, right? Like, you can see the gray hair and everything. I started my weight loss journey at 33. And when I sit down with clients at the gym, or I'm coaching them outside of the gym, or I'm talking to somebody on the phone, one of the first things I always notice is when they get through that first workout, like, you want to go hard. You want to go in there like you're ready to climb the mountain in one step, right? And that's whether you have to lose 10 pounds or 110 pounds or 150 pounds, whether you're, 7 to 77, right? It is just, you want to go, you want to do this. And then reality, about 5 minutes into the workout, will slap you right in the face, right? And that's the hard thing. Discouragement with weight loss, with fitness, is something that every athlete, whether they're right at the beginning or an elite athlete, is something that you always have to fight. And I always kind of tell people, and it sounds kind of cheesy and hokey, but fitness tends to be like a really emotional snowball, right? It can snowball in a really positive direction. You start working out, you start feeling good, you start eating a little bit better. Next thing you know, oh wow, right? Like, you know what? I kind of like this. Maybe I want to do this. Maybe I want to try to keep this going. Maybe when I go to the party, I don't want to like have, the whole pizza. Maybe I can limit myself to the slice, right? Conversely, the snowball goes really negative very, very quickly. Much easier than it goes positive. And never doubt for 1 second that as you go through this process and as you go through this journey, that this is much of a mind game as it is the physical, what you have to do to get fit and to lose weight and to get the things that you want to get out of this, right? The mind is really more critical than anything else, because if you don't get that right, you won't be successful. And that's probably not what you want to hear, but it's reality. And that first workout is one of those things that if you can't get through it unscathed, you never get to the second workout. You might not get to that quote-unquote first workout again for 6 months or 6 years. And I hear that sort of story every single day, right? So let me tell you and kind of share with you what happened to me in my first workout. So I decided to start my weight loss journey June 23rd, 2011. And I remember the day, right? A little over 7 years ago. Going through my second divorce, right? Living with a roommate for the first time in my life because I thought I could save some money. Physically broken, 350 pounds, emotionally not feeling great. I mean, I was trying to date, but who's going to want me? My wife had cheated on me because I was big. And so obviously that I kind of think shatters anybody. Professionally, I was doing okay. But I wanted more, right? So I'm sitting in my office one day. I get this Lance Armstrong bracelet in the mail because I used to run radio stations, and this was before we knew that Lance was a cheater. and I get the bracelet, and I'm sitting in the back of my office, literally opening this media kit. It's that little yellow bracelet that we all were wearing for a little while, and funny enough, I just make this decision that I want to go ahead and put it on, and so I literally I put it around my wrist, and I look down at it for a long time, and I kind of think like, okay, and look, sounds weird, right? But he overcame cancer. He overcame a lot, whether he was, ultimately found to be a fraud or not. Um, but I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, if I could work out and I could lose weight and I could start feeling better, like maybe life would be a little better. Like there's so much that you can't control. And I really wanted to try to control at least one aspect of my life. So I start like trying to think like, okay, when I was a kid, I used to lift weights. I remember lifting weights in high school, and I was sort of strong, but never very athletic. Obviously, this was going to have to be more than that to lose weight, and I knew that much. I didn't know a lot. My background's in media marketing. It's not in fitness. And I'd never been fit in my life. I'd always been the heavy kid. I was 100 pounds in third grade. I was morbidly obese in middle school. I was 265 pounds by my sophomore year, right? And I think when I was in my 20s, I was manageably overweight. I was around 220, 230 when I met my first wife, and 260, 270, 280 by the time my son was born in 2006. But I'm sitting here at 350 pounds, June 23rd, 2011, not to get too far off track, but I want to give you some context to who you're talking to, because I'm much like you, like I'm just a normal guy. And I start trying to figure out what I want. And my roommate, who had kind of been, he's younger than I was, kind of teasing me about it. I mean, good-natured teasing, but, still. He was like, man, if you did like the P90X DVDs, I got them, a friend gave them to me, they're great. If you did that, man, you'd really lose weight. You can see all the transformations, 90 days, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I can do something like that. Maybe I can do one of these 90-day transformations. So I go home. He's not there, of course. He's out with his girlfriend. So I'm there alone, lonely, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to do the first workout. And of course, I skip right past like the introduction and all the things that you need to do to get ready, because that seemed like the smart thing to do. Let's jump head first into one of the hardest workouts that you can do. And I start doing the chest and back video. And first, I want to say this: like they're great videos, they're great workouts. Tony Horton is an inspiration, right? Inspiration to me. I would probably it would be like a highlight of my life if I ever got to meet him or even talk to him, or if he even acknowledged my existence. Because the man's an inspiration. The workouts are amazing, and I think anything that gets anybody moving is always a positive thing. And he's changed people's lives that way. That being said, I started the workout, the warm-up, and we're talking just the dynamic, doing jumping jacks, arm circles, simple things that maybe lasted like 5 minutes. I was dying. My shoulders hurt, my neck hurt in weird places. I was out of breath. We finally get through the first, warm up, which it's 5 or 6 minutes, but it seemed like it lasted like an hour. And I noticed the DVD is like an hour long. And so I see him start, and I hear him talk about modifications. I'm like, okay, cool, well, I can modify this. It's not going to be so bad. And we get to push-ups. Now, I want you to imagine having to do push-ups. And push-ups, like, you got to think, like, when I was a kid, doing push-ups in PE was like punishment, right? So I wasn't never great at push-ups to begin with, and certainly at 350 pounds, the idea of pressing my own body weight when I literally haven't done a second of exercise in, 5 or 6 years seemed impossible. So of course I have to modify them from my knees, which as a guy killed me on the inside, and I got through 2 modified push-ups. 2. I couldn't finish the DVD. I was dripping in sweat. I was at home. I was in tears. I had my face was flush. I had no idea how I was going to do something like this over and over and over again, so much so that I was going to someday be fit, right? That seemed like the biggest remote impossibility. You might as well have told me, like, Jim, jump to space right now. Like, that's in my mind. I really was so discouraged after this first workout that I almost didn't even want to try the second one. I almost just wanted to say screw it. One of my friends at work, he had gastric bypass and he was looking great, and I just could not imagine what I would have to do to kind of get there, right? So I'm sitting at home eating, no concept. I don't even remember what I ate that night. I just remember it was probably bad, and thinking like, okay, somehow I have to try to do this again tomorrow. And I kept going. And one of the things that I told myself that really, really helped me, was that I thought to myself that, you know what? Ultimately, it doesn't matter what I look like. Yeah, as much as I would like to look great, as much as I would like to have like a pretty girlfriend and have people look at me and not get terrified when they see me or not snicker when I walk by, as much as I would like to not be made fun of by my employees, what I really want is I really just would love to feel better. And if the price to get that was that I had to completely put my ego aside to do any workout that I can, even if it's like the worst modification, even if it barely resembles exercise, as long as I was just moving around and doing something that on some level, if I could get my nutrition under control, that maybe that I could start feeling better. And that would probably be good enough. Maybe that way, maybe that way I'd get to see my son, get to 18 years old. My son at the time was, let's see, that was 2011. So yeah, he was 5, and I was 33. And I really thought in my head, and at a BMI of 54, which is only double what normal is, I was basically 1 foot in the ground. And so I decided that no matter how hard the workout was, no matter how much I would have to modify, no matter how embarrassed I was when I eventually started going to a gym or was eventually outside trying to walk, that I would be okay with whatever that was, because the reward was that I would at least feel better and maybe live longer. And that was it. And so I put my head down and I just kept doing it every single day. I have incredibly vivid memories, and I'll tell you this. At one point, it was probably, maybe 40 pounds into my journey. I was running through City Park here in New Orleans, right? And by run, I really mean I was going around 3 or 4 miles an hour. It was like a run walk. At this point, I had lost 40 or 50 pounds. I was feeling really, really good about myself. And I remember I was turning the corner, and I was wearing this white V-neck shirt, and it was a XXX V-neck white T-shirt with some really baggy shorts. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I look great, right? And I turned the corner, and this really pretty girl comes running by. Right, that type of girl that looks really athletic, that every guy turns his head and stares at, because we're pigs. And I remember her kind of just like looking at me with disgust and like snickering. And then as I was going through the park, I noticed how everyone else looked at me, and I was thinking, man, as much work as I've done, I still got so far to go. And that negative thought was so powerful, it almost made me want to stop. And one of the things that I just kept thinking back to was, okay, cool. You know what though? I don't care what these people think. I don't care if anybody makes fun of me. I feel better. Okay, great. I've got, maybe I'll never look good. Maybe I'll never be fit. Maybe nobody will ever stop me and say like, oh my God, you're skinny. You know, but maybe I'll have a better life. And so I just kept that in the back of my mind. And I bring this up because I was sitting down with a client a few days ago, 15-year-old girl and her dad, and really nice people. The girl had had a spinal fusion, and she was now trying to get into the gym. Needless to say, like, obviously, she's medically cleared, but everything she does, this poor kid, everything, she's got to be incredibly careful, right? She hasn't been able to do anything, so there's not a lot of muscle to work with. She's not a weight loss client. That's the last thing she needs to worry about. She's actually probably 20, 30 pounds underweight. But she was in the gym and she was trying. Her dad was encouraging her. And she made a comment that, and we were doing like this endless rope exercise where you kind of pull the rope and it's working cardio and working your upper body and your muscular endurance a little bit. Great exercise if you have one of those in the gym. And of course I had to set it to a really low resistance so she could do it. And she was starting to get really, really discouraged. She was like, oh, of course we set it to the low resistance. And she said it in a way that was like sarcastic, like as a little bit of a defense mechanism, like, of course, who didn't see that coming? And I stopped her for a second and I said, hey, listen, I know we're almost at the end of the workout. I know you guys got to go soon. But let me just tell you the story of my first workout. And I kind of walked her through what it was like. And I told her at the end, and just like I'm going to tell you at the end, all of us are starting from someplace, right? And you could be the most elite fit athlete on the planet. You didn't start there. You could be 150 pounds overweight. That is your starting point. It's like, your weight and your body fat percentage and all those metrics that we kind of look at, or how you look in the mirror. It's like your bank account. It's just what it is today, right? Our fitness is just what it is today. It can change. And it can change when we decide that we want our story about who we are to be different. Just like that day on June 23rd, 2011, I decided I want my story to be more than just, I'm Jim Fisher who's morbidly obese and maybe I'll make 40, right? I decided I wanted to be more than that. And while, I wish I could sit here and say that that was the only time I had that thought and I got it out of my mind and then it was gone, I struggle with that thought to this day. I'm walking around a gym full of pretty people, working with trainers who have been athletes their whole life, who have six-pack abs and look amazing. And I look around and I'm like, man, how am I supposed to compare to these folks? Because I still don't see myself that way. And so I have to constantly fight that and constantly put my head down and constantly, there are days where I'll look at myself in the mirror and I'll catch myself for a second like, well, that guy looks pretty fit. And it'll dawn on me 30 seconds like, oh, that's me. The mind plays tricks on you. And what's funny about this whole thing, and you probably find this in life, your initial gut reaction to something, while it might feel good in the moment, is almost always not the most appropriate response to what we're doing. There is one secret to incredible weight loss and incredible fitness and living your best life. And it's consistency over time. And you have to look at your fitness journey that way. You can't bottle up your feelings from your first workout and let it dictate how every subsequent workout is going to be. You have to know there's going to be more. You have to know it's going to get better. You have to know that results are just right around the corner. And you have to have a lot of faith, not only in the process, but in yourself, to know that that's going to happen. And I know you've probably heard a million people say this, and I am certainly not the first trainer to say it. I'm not the first person on YouTube to say it, but I am one of the first people who has had to have that faith that's gone through it to tell you that it's not just a gimmick, it's not just something somebody's trying to sell you, it's not just a 90-day transformation. It's no, really, this is what really happens because I lived it and I still live it every single day. So if you're trying to figure out what Find Your Marathon is about and what this channel is going to be about, that's what this is about. I want to show you the things that I went through, that I see other people going through. They're going to help save you time. Because if you know it's coming, when you feel it, it doesn't feel as daunting. It doesn't feel like you're alone. You actually have a strategy to get through it. And if you follow the roadmap, then yeah, you can be successful. You can be that person that posts that thing on Facebook or on Instagram, both places that you can find me, by the way, at Find Your Marathon. That great before and after photo that gets everybody like, oh my God, what happened? Like, how did that happen? How did he do that so quickly? You know, it came from hard work and diligence on the mental side and the physical side. So everyone, have a great week. If you are going through your first workout this week, remember, this is just workout number 1. We all start from someplace, every single one of us. And like everybody says, it gets better. And it will if you give it the opportunity to get better. If you liked the video, please, by all means, hit the subscribe button, click the bell, make sure that you get notifications when we post new videos like this. And again, find me on Facebook at Find Your Marathon. You can also find me on Instagram at Find Your Marathon. Everybody, have a great week.